Greetings from the San Fernando Valley in Southern California. When I set out to write a lecture for this virtual expo, I decided to concentrate on an insight of great significance that resulted from my experiencing events that most people would understand as having some paranormal or startling characteristics. These types of occurrences are important to consider in relation to conditions of life that have always seemed mysterious or enigmatic. A new acquaintance recently asked me about my interest in metaphysics and spirituality. She hadn't read my book, Testament, and didn't know about any of the things that have happened to me. I told Anita that I'd always been interested in the unexplained ever since some unusual events during my childhood. She wanted to know about these, so I described hearing a disembodied voice calling my name when I was around 5 years old. I mentioned to her that in my research, I discovered that this was a phenomenon that had occurred to a great many people at different times in their lives, including Sigmund Freud. I also mentioned the time when I was a teenager and attempted to hold a seance. After I said I called upon the spirits of the dead, there was suddenly a small tornado outside the apartment, and this was very unusual for Pasadena, California. As we spoke further, I stated that my experiences and research have shown me that all living things are continuously interacting with an intermediary superconsciousness or spiritual force. Anita then told me that she had a friend who tried to contact spirits using a Ouija board, and the messages had so startled him that he vowed never to attempt this again. This led her to inquire if I thought this type of situation was disturbing to the spirits of the dead. I said, it isn't as if each manifesting entity is being pulled away from someplace against their will. I compared the situation to the Force in the original Star Wars movie manifesting to Luke Skywalker with the voice of Ben Kenobi, and I added that popular entertainment was another means of expression of this all-encompassing creative force. I added that although I majored in cinema, I myself no longer attended movies, and she said that she could well understand such a choice. What I have realized, and what I think my book, Testament, documents in some rather direct and obvious ways, is that this superconsciousness with whom we live every moment of our lives may be recognized through circumstances often described as coincidences and synchronicity, intuition and telepathy, prophetic dreams and visions, mediumship and trance-channeling, healing, as well as events sometimes associated with such expressions as hauntings, talking poltergeists, and electronic voice phenomena. This predicament might be articulated as all living things having a shared subconscious mind or thought conductor. Such expressions as oneness and Christ consciousness are also useful. In my research, I also found such terms as oversoul and universal mind. My nonfiction book, Testament, was published 10 years ago. I used a question and answer interview transcript format to provide a documentary-style case study to share experiences that otherwise would have been extremely difficult to communicate. The word paranormal is one often assigned to some of the occurrences that I observed, including the materialization of small objects and hearing utterances from non-physical beings in a tiny town in rural Oklahoma. But that was just the beginning. A free internet edition of Testament is available at testament.org, presenting these interview transcripts, journal entries, and photographs. In 1995, I traveled to Oklahoma to interview the family experiencing phenomena associated with what has been described as a talking poltergeist. After having been researching similar cases for a screenplay and later an unpublished book centering on the 19th century so-called Bell Witch haunting in Tennessee, I estimated this was a rare opportunity to investigate a contemporary case. As surprising as it still seems to me, my visit resulted with all my expectations being exceeded to an astonishing degree. As I mentioned in the prologue of my upcoming nonfiction book that I've given the unusual title, Hollyweird, although I didn't know it then, working as a publicity writer at Paramount Pictures, while in my spare time, researching and writing about the paranormal would provide me with a unique perspective upon finding myself experiencing a bizarre sequence of events beyond anything I'd seen on the screen. The book is an autobiographical account that also features commentary on occurrences in the lives of the world's paranormal people. During my years as a Hollywood publicist, when I contributed to movie publicity campaigns, I didn't consider how movies and TV shows can provide diverting entertainment that may keep a person at a level of consciousness not far beyond that of living life as a spectator without any personal involvement toward helping to make the world a better place. After reading in 14 Times magazine an article about America's talking poltergeist, an article that may be read at the testament.org website, I contacted the family and spoke to Maxine, the mother, via telephone. It was surprising to learn that before her divorce, her last name had been Bell, so children and grandchildren in her immediate family retained the Bell surname. We arranged for me to visit and interview the family in August, just after my 39th birthday. 2 days of interviews and amazing experiences brought me a new understanding that there are no limits to what occurrences are possible in our lives. One of the bizarre events involved a large beetle flinging itself against my hotel door one night at bedtime for a considerable interval. On another night, I telephoned my twin brother in Los Angeles, and as I spoke to him, he became startled and told me that his bed had suddenly begun shaking. The interaction with the haunting presence motivated the Oklahoma family to attribute much of the phenomena to a spirit they called Michael. After my interview trip was over, I returned home to Southern California and was astonished when variations to unexplained phenomena associated with poltergeists in earlier eras continued to occur in my presence. Just like in Oklahoma, coins were materializing among a startling variety of unexpected and uncanny happenings. Recalling some baffling events earlier in my life, it seemed Michael had also been my unseen companion all along. Considering that superconsciousness influencing each individual's thoughts and experiences allowed for many mysterious things labeled supernatural to become feasible. It seemed justifiable to compare the concept of God, Christ consciousness, and individual consciousness with the psychology terms superego, id, and ego. Eastern spiritual traditions express facets of existence understandable in context with this oneness, using words such as karma and reincarnation. We need only consider our own thought process to find evidence of this angelic force of Christ consciousness. In my own life, I found symbols and metaphors equated with the spiritual journey, including the Paramount Mountain logo and my having experienced 2 inexplicable burning bushes while living across from the Angelus Temple in the Echo Park district of Los Angeles. The expression, "let your conscience be your guide," is one intimation that we each are always being helped by our cosmic mind, and through each of us, this superconsciousness works to help others. The talking poltergeist cases and other famous paranormal accounts chronicle ways the cosmic mind has manifested with intermediary emissaries. I'll mention a few renowned cases.